another kind of gloomy, rainy day. It's going to be so muddy in our house. OMG. Happy Monday. Happy March 1st. Happy birthday, Maisie Daisy. Happy birthday. You're 2 today. It's your birthday. You don't look so excited. Oh well. Pearl's not that excited about it either. Good morning. Happy birthday, Maisie Daisy. Nope. Not moving. I found my library. It's Monday. Christy and I crafted yesterday, and I got my February books done. And my new scheme, my new color scheme works great. I like my new color. Mulberry went, and I put in caper instead. And I like my caper. I haven't taken out the other 2 mulberry books. I'll go get it. Here you go. So this is my new color caper, and I will be replacing this book here and the second book here and putting in caper. So I'll put a little green on the upper story. Here's my rooster I wasn't sure about, but I had another rooster, and it looks good with the caper. I had 3 maroons in a row. I'm gonna need to outline them. And when my first book was supposed to be sacks, and I couldn't find my sacks, so I used my sack substitute, and I think it looks perfectly fine. So I will not be using the sacks, and I have banished all silk from my palette. I couldn't find the sacks, and I went and looked on the table, and so here's my palette now. And it wasn't until later I decided to use the color I had here, and it worked great. It wasn't until later that I realized that I had put it away. Like it was floss, and therefore actually had a place it could belong. Now I have millions of things. Exaggeration. I have thousands of things that I have that don't have a place. And so if I can't find it where I think it is, then I'm at a little bit of a loss. But I will admit it took me about an hour to figure out that I had put it away with my floss. I'm going to have to go through that stuff anyway and get back, because I think I probably put away the green that I'm using for my bookshelf, and I probably put away the black, which I'm using to outline. But, so I will have to do a little work on my bookshelf outside of my normal time with Christy, because it took me the whole time with Christy to do my books. So, and I'm going to have to change my thing, because I got to go back to the beginning of the month. March. It's March today. And it's Maisie's birthday. She's 2. So I did a little crafting yesterday. I did my books with Christy, and I knit on my sweater some. In fact, I knit and then measured and realized that I was a lot further on the body than I thought. I did my podcast yesterday. If you haven't seen it, it went up last night. If you haven't seen that, it went up last night. Oh, excuse me. And in my podcast, I said that I thought I had another 6 inches to go on the body. No, I did not. I think I'm going to finish out the 6 rows that I'm doing for the last worsted row, and then I'm going to do the ribbing. So I'm going to start the ribbing today if I end up knitting, which I should. And so I'm really far along, and then all I have to do is the sleeves, because I already did the neck. And I have to close all the side holes and things, so I'll have a little finishing work to do on it. But it's a lot further than I thought it was. So yes, I finally did my podcast. I don't know why. I guess it's part of the process. I have to talk about it for 2 weeks and be late or whatever. I should start talking a lot earlier. And I should write notes earlier or something. I don't know. Anyway, I enjoyed doing it. It does take kind of all day. Between doing it and getting ready and gathering things and editing the podcast. In fact, I didn't put the show notes / links in yet, and I have to do that. I'll do that this morning while you guys are rendering. And I did not make the crackers yesterday. We ended up having something of an adventure. So it rained all day yesterday. And Dennis had told his mother he was going to go stop over on Saturday because she had mushrooms for him. Sarah Ann had left a big box of mushrooms, which Aura is not going to cook. So as far as Aura is concerned, she left them for Dennis. And Dennis forgot to go over. So we said we would go over. But I told him I didn't really feel like going, and I didn't really want to go. He could go by himself. It was raining. But then I made a mistake and said, well, if we end up walking the dogs, if it clears up enough that we can walk the dogs, then we can just stop over on our way home from walking the dogs. And as soon as I said those words, I knew we would be walking the dogs. Because he wants me to go. Because he likes me to go with him places. So I finished recording my podcast and came down. And he said, oh, I think the rain is lightening up. We can walk the dogs. So I look out the window and I can see that it's raining. If it's raining hard enough that I can look in the sky and against the trees and see that it's raining, it's really raining. I'm like, it's raining. Oh, no, it's just light. I was looking on the deck. I'm like, okay. So I bundle up because it's raining. And, get the dogs in the car. It's raining. We're driving. We only drive a mile. We're halfway there. He says, oh, I think the rain's picked up. I'm like, no, it hasn't. It's been this the whole time. He's like, oh, maybe I should have looked at the Doppler radar. Maybe. So anyway, we walk the dogs in the rain. We're soaking wet. The dogs are soaking wet. We're soaking wet. So we call Aura and say, we're coming over to pick up the mushrooms, but we're soaking wet, so the dogs aren't coming in, and we're not staying. So we get to Aura's and get the mushrooms, a 3-pound box of mushrooms, a lot of mushrooms. They look delicious. And I'm like, it's raining. I mean, we are soaked, right? So I'm like, yeah, we're not really staying. And no, we're not bringing the dogs in because. So we get back home. We get back in the car and halfway home we get a flat tire in the pouring rain. So we're like, oh, man. And so we're in the car that my parents gave us last year, year and a half ago. And we've never had a flat tire in this car before. And we're not sure if we have a spare tire or not. And we have 200 pounds of dogs in our back, so we can't check because it's pouring rain. So when he calls AAA, he says, I'm not sure I have a spare. I probably have a spare, but I'm not sure. Now, this car is a Passat wagon, and my parents bought this wagon in 2010 or something on our recommendation because we had a car that we loved, the Passat wagon that we had gotten when we were in Seattle. So it was, at the time they bought theirs, ours was 11 years old, and we loved it and recommended it. And so my parents were in the market for a new car, so they bought a Passat, and they were very happy with it. And our old Passat, which we had to change tires on, had a locking lug nut, a special lug nut that kept you from being able to take the tire off unless you had a special gizmo. And it was a theft prevention. you know, feature. What a pain in the ass, and, you know, half the time that, you know, the AAA people forget to put it back away, and we've had to replace it more than had to replace it at least once in our old car, and so he's looking at the lug nuts and then got these things on him, and we're like, ugh. So we look for, so he's calling AAA, and we called his mother and asked her to come and get me. So his mother picks me up, and me and the mushrooms, takes me home. I get the other car, and I come back and get the dogs and put the dogs in the back of our other station wagon. And so then we can check, and we do have a spare tire, but we can't find, but we don't have the little locking gizmo that we had needed in our old car. So I'm like, okay, where are we going to have the car towed? You know, it's like, what are we going to do? So then I got the brilliant idea. Well, the same year my parents bought this Passat station wagon on our recommendation, Dennis's parents bought a Passat station wagon on our recommendation. So his mother has the same car from the same year. I'm like, your mother has the same car. Let me go get hers. And then we'll have it, and then we can buy a new one, but at least they can change the tire. So I call Aura, I go back to Aura's, and I go through the back of her car, take her stuff out of the back of her car, go into her, you know, whatever. To make a very short story long, she doesn't have the gizmo either. And I, you know, so I'm like, oh, man. And meanwhile, it's pouring rain. So I get back in the car, I call Dennis and say, she doesn't have the gizmo. He says, I tried to call you. It doesn't need the gizmo. Those were just little plastic covers over the lug nuts, and it doesn't need a gizmo. I'm like, oh, good. We don't have to have the car towed. So I go back home, and of course I'm passing Dennis, because that's the way we go home, and I pull him behind him, and the guy's already there from AAA changing his tire. So I pull over and I say, you want to sit in the warm car? He says, no, he's almost finished. I'm like, okay. So we'll get home, and I call Aura, tell her everything's fine, and Dennis like walks in the door while I'm still on the phone with her. That's how quickly they got there and got it done. But we were soaked. Anyway, so I did that instead of making crackers, so I didn't make any crackers. Dennis started cooking almost as soon as we got home, and, you know, I stay out of his way. I don't want to be making crackers while he's trying to cook. So I will be making crackers today. I think we're having wings today, so it's not a lot of time in the kitchen for Dennis. So I can do that without getting in his way. We might be going to Costco today, which would be a pain, because I didn't get any painting done yesterday, and I want to paint. My palettes are dry now, so I can just paint. And now that they're dry and everything's set up, I can figure out, I think, some kind of a plan for storing my stuff and things that will make it less involved, less of a pile. I mean, I have a lot of stuff. I have a bin of paper crafting things for making cards if I want to use stamps and things, you know, like card making stuff that I acquired 20 years ago and added to at Christmas, because I thought the cards I was gonna make were gonna be paper crafted as opposed to watercolored, which is kind of what they ended up mostly. So anyway, I have stuff I can put away. I can clear up this area, and I think I'm gonna try to do that, because I am starting to get ready to be clearer. I crafted with Chrissy last night, and she said that she had put her Christmas decorations away. It was time for her to, you know, have a more empty space. And I guess I'm getting there too. So I'm soon going to be putting away my Christmas decorations. That's probably going to be part of my plan for the week. And then it'll just be the house back there. But I really do love my decorations. But we'll burn the boxwood. The boxwood has held up really well. I never got boxwood before as my greenery. And the boxwood is, the garland on my mantle is boxwood. And it's very dry. But it is not falling apart at all. There's no needles or, you know, it's staying together great. So next year, and one of my rules that I had in my no-buy year was that I'm allowed to buy poinsettias and garland for my Christmas decorating, in case you were wondering. I added that to my rules. That's one of my rules. I'm working on my rules. I will get boxwood because it really held up great. So that is my plan for the week, I think. I think I'm going to be working on getting rid of the decorations, and I'm going to be working on organizing my paper and paints in such a way that they don't have to live here. Since the paints have been, I have 2 palettes like this, and they just close up, and that's all the paint I need. I don't have to have, you know, the paints in the tubes close at hand. When one of my you know, paints is used up, I can go get the tube and put more in. But that'll take a while. That'll be a lot of painting, and I'm not getting as much painting done as I would like. So I think that's my plan. So anyway, that was my story about yesterday. So the dogs had an adventure. They were in the car a lot. Back and forth to Aura's. So then I came home, and then I edited my podcast and crafted with Christy. And that ended up being most of my day. But in between, I did some knitting and discovered that my sweater body is almost done. So I will be doing some knitting today while I watch my news and settle into my day. So that's that. We do not have anything special planned for Maisie's celebration. She's going to get her normal set of treats, which is already way too many. And her normal cuddles, which are plenty, because she's a cuddler. And we do a lot of cuddling. Sometimes we do it with a towel. But my gizmo says it's raining, but I can't see the rain. It's certainly not raining as hard as it was yesterday when we walked the dogs. And she didn't come over for a cuddle when she came in, so I didn't. She's the best gauge about whether it's raining or not, because if she's wet, then it's raining. Okay. I am going to go and try to have a calm day, a dry day. I'm going to try to stay dry today. We'll see how that works out. I hope you are feeling well. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Stay safe and stay sane.